This is OwlUp, where learning happens in minutes, not hours. For a deeper journey, explore all our courses at owlup.co. Now, let's dive in. Chapter 2 of How to Apologize and Actually Mean It. The key elements of a meaningful apology. In this chapter, you'll learn: identify the verbal and nonverbal components of an effective apology. Let's dive in. A single word, sorry, can double the chances someone forgives you, yet most apologies barely move the needle. You say the words, they nod politely, and nothing really changes. In this episode, we'll pull apart why some apologies heal and others quietly harden resentment. Sorry on its own is like sending a text with 1% battery. Sometimes it goes through, often it dies midway. Research shows there are specific ingredients that reliably turn a vague regret into something that actually repairs trust. Miss one and the whole thing feels off, even if the words sound right on the surface. In this episode, we'll unpack the 5 elements that show up again and again in successful apologies across cultures and contexts, from couples therapy to corporate crises. We'll look at why each piece matters, how your brain and nervous system react when they're missing, and what it sounds like when they're done well. You'll also see how tiny wording changes can shift an apology from defensive to disarming. By the end, you'll be able to build apologies that don't just calm things down in the moment, but actually reopen connection. Think of this episode as zooming in from the wide map to the street view. We've talked about why apologies matter. Now we're asking, what makes one land as healing instead of hollow? Researchers studying real conflicts, from medical errors to customer blow-ups, keep finding the same pattern. When apologies include specific elements, people don't just calm down, they're more willing to stay in the relationship, keep using the service, or keep working with the team. It's less like a magic spell and more like following a reliable recipe under stressful, very human conditions. 55%. That's roughly how much more likely people are to forgive you when your apology is complete, not partial. So let's get concrete about what complete actually looks like in real life, without turning you into a robot reading from a script. Element 1. Name the offense clearly. Not for what happened, but for interrupting you in the meeting, for sharing that story without asking, for missing the deadline I promised I'd meet. Specifics signal you're not just smoothing things over, you're tuned into their lived moment. Element 2. Own it outright. That means, I did, not if I did. I snapped at you beats, I'm sorry if I came across as harsh. The little word if quietly shifts doubt onto them. Dropping qualifiers, but, only, just, keeps you from sneaking excuses in the side door. Element 3. Show the impact landed. This is where empathy enters. You don't need poetry, you need accuracy. I can see that put you in a terrible spot with your boss, or, I get that hearing that from me must have felt humiliating. You're reflecting their reality, not debating it. Element 4. Offer concrete repair. In business, that might be a refund plus a plan to fix the process. In a friendship, it could be replacing something you broke, or taking on extra work you dropped. The question to hold: what would help mend what was actually damaged? Time, money, reputation, energy, emotion? Element 5. Spell out what changes next. Vague promises like, I'll do better, are cotton candy. Big, sweet, and gone in a second. Next time we disagree, I'll take a 10-minute break instead of raising my voice. Or, from now on, I'll get your consent before sharing stories that involve you. Gives their nervous system something firm to hold on to. Think of each element as a separate line item in a repair budget. When you skip one, no impact, no repair, no future plan. The emotional account stays in the red, even if you've said sorry 10 times. Think of this like upgrading from, I'm sorry, as a quick text, to a full conversation. Each element is a different channel you're opening. Miss one, and the signal gets fuzzy. Consider 3 quick scenes. At work, your teammate stays late finishing a slide deck you were supposed to handle. A thin response is, sorry about earlier. A richer one sounds like, I dropped my part of the deck, which meant you had to stay late. I get that it cost you your evening. I'll take next week's deck completely off your plate, and from now on, I'll flag when my workload makes a deadline risky. In a relationship, you cancel last minute. Again. You might say, I bailed on dinner tonight after promising I'd be there. I know that made you feel low on my list. I've blocked off Thursday and I won't book over it. I'll also stop saying yes to plans I'm not sure I can keep. Even online, when a creator misleads followers, the repair might include correcting the post, outlining checks they'll use next time, and inviting critique, not just closing comments. In digital spaces, those 5 elements act like a public ledger entry: visible, time-stamped, and searchable. A thin "sorry" disappears in the feed. A full response reshapes your long-term record. As AI systems start issuing their own acknowledgments, after biased recommendations or buggy updates, people will judge not just that a statement appears, but whether it includes repair and future safeguards, much like investors scrutinize both losses and the revised risk strategy. Your challenge this week: when you mess up, even in tiny ways, pause before speaking and silently run a 5-check scan. Event, ownership, impact, repair, change. Then say only what you can back up with action. Over time, you'll notice your "sorry" sounding less like small talk and more like updating the terms of a living contract. This was OwlUp, your daily step forward. This series continues with more chapters on OwlUp.co. Visit OwlUp.co to access the complete course and continue your learning journey. See you there!